Today we're going to do a trailing bounce in two directions. And we're going to start that off by inputting our name on line 1. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do an X variable and a Y variable. Now, we want our ball to start in the upper left corner. This upper left corner is going to be right here, and that point right there is actually 0, 0. So we're going to start this off, and what we want it to do is we want it to draw across, bounce on this side, 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 all the while dropping very slowly. We're going to be dropping the Y down very, very slowly. Okay. So our first thing we're going to do is we're going to go variable. And we're going to declare a variable for the X. And we're going to set this at X equals 0. Okay. I'm going to go variable for the Y equals 0, because that's where we want to start it. So if you wanted to change those starting points, that's where you would do it. So we're going to go Y starting point. Okay. Now, for the X speed, we're going to do 2 more variables. X speed. X speed equals, we're going to do it started at 2. And we want it to start positively because we're going from this direction. So that's going to be a positive 2. It's adding 2 as it goes across. So that's the starting point. So starting speed in positive direction. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do variable Y speed. Now, we want this to drop very slowly, okay? So we're going to drop this at 0.25, okay? And that means it's going to add 0.25 every frame, 0.25 as it goes down, okay? Oops. Slowly dropping on the Y. Okay. Now we're going to start with our draw section. Okay. And our first piece we're going to do is going to be the background. And our background, we're going to do, let's leave it at red. Okay. We'll do a red background. The next one's going to be a fill. I'd like to do this at a yellow fill. Okay. Okay, and we're going to do a small ellipse, which is going to be a circle. So we're going to have X starting point, Y for the starting point. Because we're moving in 2 directions. We're going to have, we're going to do it 50 by 50. Okay, and you see that it starts off up in that upper left-hand corner. So you see that we are starting way up here at that 0, 0. Okay. Sorry. I'm a terrible 0. Okay. It's going to be a small circle. We're going to do our animation lines, which is going to be X equals x plus x speed. And I capitalized the P there, it wouldn't work. Okay. Ooh, already begun to bounce. Okay. Or it took off, let's say. So this is going to be the motion in x direction. Okay, and this is going to be the motion in the y direction. Okay, so if we start this right now, you'll see that it's slowly dropping, but it's just going to keep going off the screen. We want it, when it hits here, we want it to turn around and come back the opposite direction. So to do that, we're going to need the if statement. So we're going to say if x becomes greater than 400, because that's the right side of the screen, we want it to turn around and come back. So we're going to go curly brace and say x speed is now going to equal curly brace. Speed becomes negative. Let's see what happens here. If I restart this, we see it dropping down. When it hits 400, it's going to bounce back, and then it's just going to go off the edge of the screen. Okay, so we want to create another bounce here. We're going to go if x becomes less than 0, which is the left side, we want it to turn around and become positive. Positive 2. Okay, so I'm going to restart this. You can see that it's dropping down. It's going to hit this wall and bounce back, and then it's going to hit this wall and bounce back, all the while dropping by 0.25 each time. 0.25 each time. So we have this kind of like slow moving thing. Okay, now it looks cool, but it will look even cooler if we take the background line, this one right here. I'm going to cut it, okay, and I'm going to place it up here on line 2, and I'm going to back that up. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to get this like trailing thing, because the background is not redrawing each time. So we get this real cool looking snake. Props to Cosmo in period 7 because he came up with this, and I just thought it looked awesome. Okay, so let's say we want to change things a little bit, and we want it to start in a different area. Okay, so let's say I want it to start over here on the right hand side. I want it to start here, up here, and that area is 400 on the x and 0 on the y. And then I want it to take off in the opposite direction. Okay, and let's say I want it to become, let's change things a little bit. Let's say in this instance, I want to change the background to cyan. So I'm going to change the background to cyan. Okay. And we have to change the starting point of the x to 400. Okay. And I am a stickler about these things, so I'm going to make sure that these are all like lined up properly. Okay. The variable for the y is the same. Okay. Now, if I'm starting on this side, I want my speed to become negative right off the bat. We want it to be -2, and we want, actually everything else is the same. So I'm going to jump up here, -2 on the this, and we want it in the negative x direction. The y speed is fine because it's still going to be dropping. Okay. Everything is starting off the same. Okay, but if x is, we're actually going to start this off. I think actually this will work. I'm going to change this to a rectangle, actually, R-E-C-T. And I want it to be a white rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to change these comment lines because we want to be as professional as possible. White fill, and it's going to be a small square. Okay. So I'm going to restart this. You can see that it starts off over here, and we get this cool trailing rectangle, and it's all the exact same things. Now, you can see that it's a nice crisp bounce on the left-hand side, but it kind of goes off the screen on the right. If you want to change that, you can adjust the levels. That's actually controlled by this. We would have to back this back down to, I believe, 350 to get a nice crisp bounce because of the position of the pin. Dink. So where the rectangle is pinned. So start it there, traveling across. We should get a nice crisp bounce here. Doink. Yeah. So yeah, that's how you do it. So you can change the shape, you can change the starting point, the left or the right, change the colors. Yeah, everything can be changed. All right, thank you guys so much.